Marquette trying to take another step toward Dean Smith's all-time wins record in a battle of unbeatens here tonight. The Marquette Golden Eagles feature one of the best perimeter attacks in the nation as they bring a 4-0 record here to Kansas City. Bob Knight and Tom Crean exchanging pleasantries before the game with two of the most intense coaches in America. That'll all be forgotten as soon as they throw the ball up in the air. Second semifinal here for the CBE Classic, all a part of Feast Week. The winner of this game will advance to tomorrow night's championship game on ESPN2 at 10 Eastern against the Duke Blue Devils, who defeated Air Force by 15 in our first semifinal here tonight. Hi, everybody. Along with Doris Burke and Dick Vitale, I'm Dan Shulman. Let's talk about this game. You had a long chance to speak to Bob Knight. What is he worried about when he goes up against Marquette?
Well, he's concerned what any coach would have to be concerned with Tom Crean's basketball team. The perimeter game. You talk about Matthews, you talk about McNeil and Dominique James. It doesn't get much better than Mr. James. Their perimeter people are outstanding. Barrow and Lott know their roles. This can be a special Marquette team. Tom Crean gets the most out of his people. On the other side, you talk to Tom Crean, he's got to be concerned about Jarius Jackson. I think, again, one of the premier point guards in the land. I think tonight we are going to be really treated to a special matchup with James and certainly when you think about Jackson.
And from right there into the Star Watch, and those are the two guys we look at. The Big East Rookie of the Year a year ago, Dominique James, undersized, only 5'11", but a huge heart, tough as nails. Jarius Jackson dismissed from the team for academic reasons a couple of weeks back and then reinstated. He is their best player. A look now at the eHarmony starting lineups. 3 sophomores starting on the perimeter for the Golden Eagles. All of them can handle the basketball. Martin Zeno, a real key for Texas Tech, had an outstanding freshman year. Bob Knight was bitterly disappointed in his play last year as a sophomore. As a junior, he is scoring more this year. They need him to help Jackson to win this game.
I think you're going to see a matchup where Burgess is going to be the guy that's going to guard James. I don't think they're going to put Jackson on him. Jackson did not have a good game defensively in his last outing. Bob Knight was very upset. He said he put points on the board, but he did not defend like we know he's capable of.
Marquette, of course, lost Steve Novak, their outstanding shooter from last year. He hit 121 threes. He's now in the NBA. Bob Knight went out and brought in 5 junior college players, Dick. They have tremendous depth and competition for playing time.
I remember when he brought in his first junior college players to Indiana. Garrett, and certainly the guy that made the miraculous shot from the baseline against Syracuse.
He's smart.
That's right, Mr. Smart.
Relying on JUCOs a lot more down in Lubbock than he did in Bloomington. Marquette in blue. Texas Tech in white. Lott loses it out of bounds.
Lott posted on the inside. Tom Crean, what a job he has done. Mr. Intensity. He did an amazing job to get to the Final Four. I know Al McGuire would be so proud to see the job that Tom Crean has done in Milwaukee.
Watching them practice, he works up more of a sweat than his players do. He really gets after it.
And that becomes contagious. Your players have to respond in a positive way, play with some pride, and play with some great effort.
Great anticipation there, and the steal by Jarrell McNeil. Wesley Matthews will go to the line.
They're going to take that steal and get in transition. Wesley Matthews, a name that I'm familiar with, played in the very first game. As you look at Robert Montgomery Knight, 873 career wins. Incredible.
6 shy of tying, 7 shy of passing. Dean Smith.
You know, Wesley Matthews, his dad played in the first game, the poll against Wisconsin. I had the good fortune to do that game 28 years ago. Never in my wildest dreams from a trailer that I think ESPN would become such a giant and to be a little spoke in that wheel and be part of this history of ESPN is really a great feeling.
Matthews 1 of 2. That was the first ever college basketball game on our air. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
the Wisconsin back in '79?
First major college game.
And it's going to be Marquette ball. Remember the new rule this year. You no longer can call a timeout as you are falling out of bounds. It results in the other team getting the ball. They've changed that this year.
I think it's a good idea that they changed it. I like that concept.
Good call there by the officials. Reggie Greenwood, Tim Nestor, and Mike Eads working this game. McNeil misses the three, and John Plefka, big rugged 6'8" senior, rips down the rebound.
He's a physical guy, Plefka. He can also shoot from the perimeter.
Zeno in trouble in the paint. And this is Jarius Jackson. He is their leading scorer. 24 points per game in the first 4 games of the season for the Red Raiders.
They're really what I call combo guards. They have great scoring ability, lead guards.
Look at the speed of McNeil.
Very quick. As part of that threesome, McNeil taken to the goal from out of Chicago. Explosive in transition. He's just got to improve a little bit more his range as a shooter. There's the turnover, and here's the speed and the quickness. I mean, he just blows by him and lays it on the glass. Golden Eagles explode into the goal. He's making like a little D Wade. Oh, what a special player. He's the only guy. He and LeBron James, and I don't like giving up cash. I'd pay to go see those 2 guys play.
Dwayne Wade, of course, was the star on the Marquette team a few years back when they went back to the Final Four and really got back into the national spotlight. It had been a while, but under Tom Crean with players like Wade and Diener and Novak, they've been a fixture there. And they had a great year in their first year in the Big East last year, going 10-6 in conference play.
You know, Novak in the very first game in the Big East over in Milwaukee went for 41 points against Connecticut and beat them by 15.
Now, why do you have to do that to Jim Calhoun?
Well, you know, Jim, by the way, I saw some of his kids last night. They're going to lead the nation again in block shots. They're going to lead the nation again. They are incredible. They've led it 5 years in a row. Very good athletically. They're just going to have to learn how to play a little bit better in a 5-on-5 situation. A.J. Price will have a big year.
Foul on Usman Barrow of Marquette. Charlie Burgess, a junior college player out of Howard College, knocks down the free throws. Dominique James with a good find. Matthews struggles to handle the pass. Now going right at the big fella, Plefka.
Got a good shot right there. Tom Crean would like to have that possession back. Back pass.
Another turnover, and then Marquette gives it right back.
Got to take that up strong.
And an offensive foul, another turnover.
Sloppy, very sloppy.
Charlie Burgess called for the foul.
First kid that Bobby Knight's ever coached from out of New York City.
By way of Howard College, as we mentioned. The guy to keep an eye on, one of the guys to keep an eye on this Marquette team is #1, Dominique James. The Big East Rookie of the Year, a big shot maker late in games. He's absolutely outstanding.
Average 16 a game in the Big East as a freshman.
Nice feed inside from McNeil.
Got to play better defensively than that, Dan. Wide open.
Usman Barrow with the layup. 6-2 Marquette. Texas Tech has had 6 possessions, 5 turnovers.
That's not going to please the gentleman.
Nope. Burgess exploring his options. Jackson running off some screens. Zeno, the 18-footer, not there.
They're going to need a big game out of Zeno to be able to control and contain this basketball team.
3 very talented players on the perimeter for Marquette, and James McNeil and this guy, Wes Matthews.
I mean, you talk about the best backcourts in America. You're going to have to put the name Marquette up there with any of the backcourts you're going to face. I mean, there aren't going to be better threesomes than these 3 kids.
Jarrell McNeil with a 3 and an early 7-point advantage for the Golden Eagles.
If he improves his range as a shooter, wow, great block.
The 7-footer Esmir Rizvik has his shot blocked, and at the other end, the conversion for James.
Playing really well. Marquette really on fire defensively and offensively, converting. Great effort right now by the kids from Marquette.
Jarius Jackson drills the 3.
They needed that. That's a big, big shot. Stops a little of that momentum.
Bob Knight has yet to leave his seat on the bench other than to talk to an official once. That 3 from Jackson, Texas Tech's first field goal of the game. And Matthews called for a travel.
Matthews out of Madison, Wisconsin, where Bo Ryan certainly looking at a block shot.
Jameel Lott.
Lott comes over from the help side, and then they take the block shot and go the other way and score. But Russell would like that sitting behind us because he was an expert at that. San Francisco and Boston Celtic fame, block a shot and get a deuce up the other end.
Rizvik, the 7-footer originally from Bosnia by way of Gulf Coast Community College, misses the jump hook. He's a work in progress as a big guy, still getting comfortable playing with his back to the basket. Barrow somehow snakes it up and in.
If they get great post play inside from Barrow and Lott and guys off the bench like Haywood and Fitzgerald who can shoot it, they have to get some strong play on that baseline.
13-5 Marquette. The winner advances to meet Duke in the championship game tomorrow night here in Kansas City. Ooh, nearly stolen by McNeil. Instead of 3 for Charlie Burgess.
Charlie Burgess out of New York City. Very strong, very good athlete, physical.
McNeil. And the rebound to Jackson. A chance for Texas Tech to run. Jackson's going to slow it down and play half court.
What I like about Jackson and certainly about James, they weren't big time in terms of McDonald's high school All-Americans, even though James was a lot higher rated than certainly Jackson was.
And another Indiana kid who got out of the state.
Yeah, they beat Michigan State for him in Purdue.
Rizvik, he knew it was long. He was following the miss right away. Now numbers for Marquette. 4-on-2. Barrow.
I think early in the game, defensive transition by Texas Tech has to really frustrate and upset Bob Knight. They are not doing a great job getting back.
Barrow averages 6. He's already got 6 tonight. Now Zeno from the baseline. And nobody near the glass for the Red Raiders. Nobody contesting the rebound.
Marquette really able to push the ball up the floor.
Barrow in the lot, and he is fouled by Plefka. Marquette playing very well, much to the dismay in the early going of Bob Knight. Both Bob Knight and Tom Crean with a connection to the late Bo Schembechler. We'll tell you that story when we come back.
ESPN News exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Sonic. It's not just good, it's Sonic good.
Here in KC, Marquette up 7 on Texas Tech. We mentioned both coaches have a connection with the late Bo Schembechler. With that story, here's Doris Burke.
Dan, for Bobby Knight, that association goes all the way back to his playing days at Ohio State. Bo Schembechler was an assistant coach for the football team. They struck up an immediate and enduring friendship. In fact, if you ask Bob Knight, he said, what I admired most was his ability to teach skills. Bo Schembechler at one point referred to Bobby Knight as his best friend. For Tom Crean, of course, his wife Joni is a sister of Jim Harbaugh, who played for Coach at Michigan. Jack Harbaugh is her father. He was on Bo's staff. When he was growing up, Tom Crean said to me, Bo Schembechler was my Al McGuire. The coaching fraternity, Dick, no matter what sport, is a tight one.
Oh, no question. I mean, these guys had an opportunity to get to know Bo really well. He had such a passion and love for Michigan.
A 3 from freshman David Kubian, spelled like David but pronounced David. He is from Venezuela. He is energetic, he is physical, he is tough, and he's getting some big minutes early in his career for Marquette.
Well, Kubian played in high school with Lance Thomas, who we saw star for Duke in the first game for Danny Hurley down there at St. Benedict's in Newark, New Jersey.
And look how active he is up at the top of that zone. Another freshman into the game, ripping down the rebound, Lazar Hayward, 6'6" out of Buffalo, who's had an outstanding couple of games the last 2 times out. And he will get called for the travel. He didn't think so, and I don't think Tom Crean thought so either.
They struggled against Idaho State. Were lucky to prevail in that game, going to overtime. But then they came back and blew out Detroit and blew out Eastern Michigan. 2, good basketball teams relatively to where they could perform, but they blew them out and played exceptionally well.
The last 2 games, they've scored 87 and 95 points, really getting the offense in gear.
They're active in that zone.
Daryl Dora into the game now for Texas Tech.
Kubian doing a great job in that 2-3 zone. Look at him right there with the deflection.
Dora, who's 6'9", he can shoot it. That's why he's out there. Burgess launches the desperation 3, and the rebound to Usman Barrow. And not a good possession for Bob Knight because he preaches getting high percentage looks. They never got close to getting a good look in that possession.
Right now, you certainly got to give the edge to Marquette the way they're playing. They seem to be one step ahead of the action, getting good ball movement, getting everybody involved.
Matthews in some trouble. Jackson comes up with a steal.
Jackson's got to show he's the star right here. His club is struggling. He's got to want the ball and take charge. He's got to be the leader. Want to be an All-American? Your team is struggling. You got to really take control.
Damir Suljagic, number 41, is checked in for the Red Raiders. Got a big brace on his knee. Sat out last year as a medical redshirt. Hayward with a rebound in traffic. Kubian and Hayward are very active.
Texas Tech really struggling to get good shots. A little carry right there.
Carry on Kubian. Well, as Doris mentioned, back in Bob Knight's playing days at Ohio State, he developed a relationship with Bo Schembechler. They maintained a close relationship for the rest of their lives. Coach Knight discusses what he feels Schembechler's everlasting impact will be.
I think that Bo wanted football to be the very best course that any kid that played football for him took while he was in college. And I doubt if one of those kids today would be able to look back and say, well, I had a better professor in chemistry than Bo was in football. My guess is every kid, if asked the question, would say that Bo was the best teacher, Bo was the most important factor from a classroom standpoint in whatever success that kid had enjoyed in life.
I think he's also describing himself, because that's his great factor. You talk about all his former players. Talk to Mike Krzyzewski, Isaiah Thomas, Steve Walford, the list goes on and on. Steve Sloan, who's the doctor, they will all tell you what they learned between 94 by 50 on a regular basis.
Bob Knight lighting into one of his players. Texas Tech not playing well, down by 8. That's quite a week, Feast Week. What are you looking forward to in the next few days?
Oh, I'm looking forward to going to Vegas for Kansas and Florida. I can't wait for that. Also, North Carolina Gonzaga is going to be a special matchup in New York City. Mark Few's club, a lot of veteran players. I love Tyler Hansbrough. He plays with such heart and pride.
Jackson about 2 feet long on that jumper from the corner. And here comes Marquette on the move again. Dan Fitzgerald is in the game.
Texas Tech's got to come up with some stops defensively. They got to really start locking up.
Dwight Burke setting the screen. A 6'8" sophomore from Brooklyn has just checked in. Look at the spin move. They are getting production from their big fellas tonight.
Yeah, everybody talked about their perimeter players. You're right, Dan. The baseline's really been effective.
A 10-point lead early for the Golden Eagles. Burgess on the drive, has it blocked by Burke. Now McNeil spins.
Oh, that's big time. That's big time. That's showtime. A big-time move. I'm telling you, that perimeter group is going to be special. Look at the hustle. They're out hustling the Red Raiders.
Kubion from Fitzgerald.
He needs a timeout. He needs a timeout. He needs a TO, baby. Oh, they are on fire. They're going to love this team in Milwaukee. Oh, they're going to love them.
Well, back here in Kansas City, it is all going Marquette's way right now. We've seen some fancy moves at the offensive end, Dickie V.
Well, they're doing a terrific job, really. There's the little spin move on the interior, little screen and roll. Really very, very lackadaisical defensively.
Burke with a spin move, then McNeil had one as well. McNeil already with 8 points. Alan Voskill into the game and now for Texas Tech, number 20. That's him giving up the ball, and then the foul is on McNeil. This is intense defense being played by the Golden Eagles.
Well, that certainly reflects Tom Crean. You mentioned Jim Harbaugh, his brother-in-law, coach down at University of San Diego, where he's doing a heck of a job. I'm surprised his name doesn't pop up in some big-time jobs. Jim Harbaugh has got a great tree that's part of his life with his dad, who's certainly an outstanding coach, as Doris said.
The floater, Dick, for Benny Valentine, a 5'7" sophomore, junior college player, originally from Omaha, by way of Howard College. Barely 5'7", if that, but he found a way to get into the lane.
Well, he's given him some quality minutes already early this year.
Hayward from the corner. And the weak side rebound by Burke, who has had some good minutes since entering the game.
You got to block out. Burke able to get that rebound. Nobody put a body on him. Usually Bob Knight's clubs do a great job pressuring the ball, blocking out, which is a vital part of the defensive effort.
And a foul drawn inside as Marquette's really doing a good ball, too, putting the ball on the floor and forcing the action at that end of the floor.
Well, you know, Bob Knight defensively wants pressure on the basketball, wants to be able to deny the wings, and then he wants you to be able to beat the guy to a spot, but he also wants you to block out. You got to block out. When that shot goes up, you got to find a man.
Marquette to inbound with a 12-point lead. McNeil. This is the jump hook, showed some good elevation. Jarius Jackson brings down the rebound.
Oh, I really like McNeil, James, and certainly Matthews. And their inside people are better than what I expected.
Generally speaking, they're rebounders, defenders, block some shots, but they've shown a little offensive ability tonight. Valentine misses the three. He's trying to give him a spark off the bench. And now try to ascertain what the whistle was about. An issue with the shot clock, apparently, and Reggie Greenwood and friends are going to go over and try to solve the mystery.
You know, Dan, was interesting before the game, and you and I was sitting with Bob Knight. He said the three people that he called up when he first got the job at West Point was interesting. So the first three people I called up for advice, I called up Claire B., former superstar coach out of LIU. He said I called my former coach, Fred Taylor at Ohio State, and Joe Lapchick over at St. John.
Look at this. That was Dominique James, all of 5'11", going up and trying for the two-handed cram.
He's got some great legs. I mentioned the name Joe Lapchick, an interesting book out by Gus Alfieri, a former player. Bob wrote the foreword. Look at those legs. Look at that high riser. I mean, he's up and up away. I mean, I thought I was watching Dwayne Wade flying through the sky.
You know, sometimes, and Steve Novak was a phenomenal player, great shooter, 121 threes last year, as we mentioned, but when a great player leaves, all the other players have to do a little bit more, and sometimes you find a coach will find things that he maybe didn't know he had, and boy, everybody looks like they have taken their game up a notch over the summer.
I'll tell you what's really interesting in the state of Wisconsin, December 9th, that'll be special when Marquette hooks up with Wisconsin.
Great rivalry.
Bo Ryan and Tom Crean have brought a lot of basketball success to that state.
Marquette will host one of the Saturday prime games this year. The last one in early March against Pittsburgh is off to a great start behind Aaron Gray.
Jamie Dixon, what a job he has done in that program since taking over for Ben Holland.
Stolen by Valentine, and then a foul committed by Lazar Hayward.
You think about Tom Crean, he came out of that stable and that tree of Mr. Tom Izzo. Stan Joplin on Toledo, Stan Heath now at Arkansas, Brian Gregory at Dayton, Doug Wojcik at Tulsa. This guy just has so much intensity, so much emotion, and he loves it in Milwaukee. If he didn't love it, he'd have been gone because people were coming after him.
Signed an extension that takes him, I think, for about 10 more years.
I'm going to call him for a loan.
Rizvik has it stolen away by Hayward. McNeil the lob. This time they get it.
They stop. Up and away. I'll tell you one thing, the elevator man, he can't be serious right there, can he? They're one step ahead of Texas Tech with every possession. They are really one step ahead, defensively, offensively.
Dominique James is on everybody's short list for one of the best guards in America, but as you've seen tonight, he's got some help on this team.
Oh, he's not alone.
No. Jackson from behind the arc. 26-15.
They got to hope to go in under double figures.
And you can see, Dick, this is one of the things that Tom Crean's done the last couple of games, as now McNeil almost turns it over. And we get a timeout taken by Marquette. They have taken James off the ball a little bit more, and we can see how dangerous he is when somebody else is finding him. They tried it once. It wound up in a foul. They tried it again to McNeil, to Dominique James for the explosive alley-oop.
There goes the lob. There's Dominic with the J, baby. There he is with the jab. Look at this guy's sky.
Wow.
What a skywalker at about 5'10". I mean, look at those hops.
Listed at 5'11". Lucky if he's that Big East Rookie of the Year, a sensational young talent and part of one of the best perimeter groups in America. We think of the three who started. We've already seen some very good stuff from Kubian, the guy who came in off the bench.
He's from out of Richmond, Indiana. They say Indiana did not even recruit him. I find that hard to believe. How could Indiana not chase this kid? I know one thing. Kelvin Sampson would have been in his home. I'll tell you that.
Marquette coming off a season last year, Dick. They won 20 games, went 10-6 in the Big East, made it to the NCAA tournament, lost in the first round to Alabama. And really a very good year for them moving into a tougher league.
You know, in fairness to Mike Davis, Joe, he may have had commitments to other perimeter players, and therefore was not. You can't get every game.
Yep.
You can't just get every game.
Wesley Matthews is fouled. And it's going to go on Michael Prince as we go to break with another look at the explosive Dominique James.
You know, you think about Player of the Year, Mr. Basketball in Indiana. When Dominic came out, he was number 2. Number 3 was Josh McRobinson. Number 1 was Luke Seller at Notre Dame. Up and away. He's got hops, baby. He's got hops.
That's been a frustrating start tonight for Bob Knight and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They have flat out been outplayed by Marquette. Outrun, out-hustled, out-jumped, outshot, you name it. This is the second semifinal here with the CBE Classic, formerly the Guardians Classic, in Kansas City. In game one, the earlier semifinal, Duke defeated Air Force 71-56. We'll have the championship game for you tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. The third place game at 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night here on ESPNU.
I'll never forget the way they went to the Final Four in 2003. Had that great performance by Wade against Kentucky, when he had 29 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists.
Michael Prince with a nice crossover. Prince, the guy who, of course, became a household name last week after the Bob Knight situation where he lifted up Prince's chin. That was a pretty nice move there on the baseline.
Good move. They look for him to provide some energy. Talked to his dad after that incident. His dad said, hey, we have no problem with it. The mom had no problem with it. The coach obviously was trying to get the most out of my son. He said if he had to do it again, let him do it again. I mean, that was the report from the father, who, by the way, told me I tried to recruit him and I didn't get him. He was playing at the time at Catholic Central High School.
You tried to recruit Prince's father?
Yeah.
And you didn't get him?
No, he went to Western Kentucky and played for Gene Katie.
What a feed from James. A no-look pass into Barrow, who's going to the line. This kid is terrific.
They really look for one another here. They really move so well without the ball. Got to watch the little dump inside. Look at a good look. Got to go to the free throw line.
Foul on Rizvik, his first.
You know, last year they only went to the free throw line about 17 times a game, which was 9th in the Big East. This year they're going about 27 times a game.
Well, one difference we're seeing without Novak, fewer threes, and all these guards are putting the ball on the floor.
Attacking.
Yeah, they're attacking the basket.
Attacking. You're aggressive. When you're aggressive and you attack, good things are going to happen. I sang their praises big time to Bob Woofy, who does an outstanding job as a columnist in Milwaukee, and I hope they make me look good. I sang Tom Crean's praises, and I sang the praises of Bo Ryan, who I think is one of the most underrated coaches in America. Orlando Tucker, he's going to be special.
Jackson with the elevation. And he'll head to the line. A couple of more points in the paint there for Texas Tech, and sorely needed.
4-to-1 ratio. It's hard to believe they're only down 8 as poorly as they've played.
You're right.
They have not played well at all. There's Jackson with the strong move. He's a big-time lead guard. He has ability to score and score big. Was not heavily recruited. In fact, when Bob Knight said when see him play, there was hardly anybody in the place.
Second foul on Usman Barrow. He sits down. Dan Fitzgerald takes over. Kubion has checked back in for McNeil as well as Jackson heads to the line looking for the three-point play.
What happened to all these names? Smith, Jones. I mean, it's unbelievable, some of these names. I mean, you got to spend hours and hours of preparing. Forget about knowledge of the team. Trying to learn how to pronounce the name, especially when you're dumb like I am.
Folks, if you had any idea what percentage of the time that Dick and I have together is spent on the pronunciations,
well, that's why you're my buddy.
That's why I have the job, because I can say Suljagic.
Well, you made it big time, my friend. Down at the Broken Egg, they have your picture of you and your beautiful wife, Sarah.
Up on the wall.
Oh, yes. They stuffed the Schwab down there, too, yesterday. Howie Schwab.
Daryl Dora runs right into a double team. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Now Jackson is trapped in the corner, and Bob Knight just looks down in dismay at the floor as Texas Tech is forced to use another timeout.
I think Bob Knight's got to be very, very happy to only be down 8.
Hey, Feast Week action continues tomorrow night. As mentioned, 2 games from the CBE Classic here in Kansas City. The third place game will be Air Force against the loser of this game at 8 Eastern right here on ESPNU. Then the championship game, Duke against the winner of this one at 10 Eastern on ESPN2.
You know, Al McGuire took Marquette to 9 NCAA tournaments in a 10-year span. And then one of my favorite guys, used to be Al's sidekick, Hank Raymond's, he took him 5 times. Kevin O'Neill, 2. Mike Dean, 2. When you had that Al McGuire staff, they had Hank Raymond's, and they had our buddy, our colleague, Rick Majerus. Rick, I tell you, he's still in Milwaukee, loves Milwaukee.
He's in Hawaii right now. He probably loves Hawaii.
They got a beautiful stadium there. Baseball. I went to that stadium. I was so impressed.
Miller Park, it is great.
Yes.
It's terrific. Dora underneath.
They need Dora and Zeno to step up. Yep. You can talk all these other names. Dora and Zeno have to give them positive minutes if they're going to have a chance to come back and win this game.
And amazingly, they're back within 6 as poorly as they played. And a travel caught on James.
Patrick Knight stands up. He'll be the future coach there. Happy with that good defensive effort.
Marquette a little turnover prone here tonight. That's been about the only thing they have done poorly. They've already turned it over 10 times.
An 8-1 run by Texas Tech. Got to get the ball in their hands right now. Jackson. So a little curl move.
Prince inside Rizvik all alone.
Hesitating.
Yeah, that's what Bob Knight was telling us before the game. He's not used to playing in the post. European guy, 7-footer, more comfortable on the perimeter. He had a lot of room and didn't even know it. Burke with the putback.
He's doing a solid job. Burke out on the inside.
He's forcing his way into the rotation. Got more minutes in the last game against Eastern Michigan than he had before. He's playing very well here tonight. Look at the rebounding dominance for the Golden Eagles, 16-7. Now Rizvik maybe trying to make up for the last time when he failed to capitalize. Chases his own miss. And a foul committed by Benny Valentine of the Red Raiders. Let's go to Doris Burke with more on Marquette coach Tom Crean.
Well, anybody who's seen this guy coach or practice knows that his energy level is almost a tangible thing, guys. Jay Billis calls him the hardest working coach in America. When I asked him where he got that, clearly, Dick, you mentioned it. He's a product of Tom Izzo, who is a very high-intensity guy. But he said, my mom gave me courage. And as a kid, we always had 7 to 10 children in the home. She was always taking in foster children. He has great passion for the game, but he credits his mom with his work ethic, guys.
Well, he really comes after you. There's no question. You watch him in practice. I'll never forget watching him practice when he had Wade. I think Wade owes him a lot for where he is today in terms of developing as the player that he became. I mean, this guy doesn't accept anything but your best effort. And unless you're going to give it, because you got to match him. You're not going to outmatch his energy and enthusiasm.
Foul on Burke. 15 foul committed by Marquette. 16-footer for Dora.
I told you, Dora's got to step up, Dan. He's got to give him quality minutes. They're picking up their effort a little bit on the defensive side.
Wesley Matthews nowhere to go. Fitzgerald can shoot it as he drills the three.
Well, Bob Knight told us before the game. He said Fitzgerald comes in. He's a transfer out of Tulane. He can make open shots.
And Tom Crean says now that Novak's gone, Fitzgerald is the best shooter on the team, and that's a 6'9" guy coming off the bench.
Yeah, he's a different kind of big player coming off the bench than, say, Hayward or Burke.
Nearly stolen. It is stolen by Wesley Matthews.
Oh, yes, his dad was special, man. His father could flat out play. Played for Bill Cofield down at Wisconsin. He came to a book signing one time. I was at Madison with a book signing, one of my books, and the young man came. He was a high school player.
Another turnover. And a look ahead. Matthews again.
Oh, that hurts big time. They get the lead down. It looks like they're becoming competitive. And then all of a sudden, the spurt, the steals, taking those turnovers and creating offense off the turnover. There's the steal. And now we're going to see a jam. And then we see another steal. And we see now another jam.
And then the hard foul committed here by Prince on the layup by Matthews, who's up and okay. Let's go back to Doris again, this time with more on Wesley Matthews.
Well, a Madison, Wisconsin product. How did he get away? His mom and his dad, both graduates of the University of Wisconsin. Tom Crean was on him early. He said, my mom and I call us the dynamic duo. In fact, on his shoulder, he's got a tattoo reading just that. He said, but she always encouraged me to keep an open mind and to find the best fit for him. So, yes, they miss him in Madison. Tom Crean, very happy to have him, guys.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Doris. He had his mom with him when he came to that book signing. I think she paid for the book. But I will tell you this, that he wanted to get his own identity and his own name, and the Marquette program was still in high gear at the time, and he wanted to be part of it.
I'll tell you what, I would not want to be in that Texas Tech locker room at halftime. Not the way they're throwing the ball around right now.
He's a shy, introverted guy. He's not going to be screaming and yelling.
The Marquette guys look like they really have fun playing the game with one another, too. I mean, they're enjoying it. James off to Kubiak. And it'll be Texas Tech ball.
Kubiak's going to be a great asset to this team. You can just see it with his body, his strength. Lance Thomas told me, he said he's going to be a heck of a player, and the kid knows what he's talking about.
You know who he reminds me a little bit, again, we've only seen him here for a few minutes, but his intensity, his defensive play, Kyle Lowry of Villanova, just a guy who is in your face all the time.
Well, every one of those players, look at the intensity on the defensive side. That's all a reflection of Tom Crean.
Lefko for three.
He has the ability to shoot the three. The big guy can step out. That's what the scouting report is on him.
It's down to 11, but now Burgess commits a foul. Just can't keep up with Dominique James. The Golden Eagles spot by spot, position by position, just seem a little bit quicker to the basketball tonight than the Red Raiders do. And Wesley Matthews, the best example of that. It has not been an uneventful ride toward history for Bob Knight, sitting on 873 career wins. Dean Smith, the record holder, at 879. Probably sometime during the holidays. You may spend New Year's Day with Bob Knight this year. You may spend some time right around Christmas with him, depending on when he gets to the brink of history.
Well, I was teasing him before the game. I said, come on now, you better break that record before New Year's Day. He said, if we don't break it before then, we're going to have some problems. But hey, let me tell you this. Tom Crean has such a strong personality. And I really believe when you look at schools like Marquette, when Al McGuire was there, you have to have a strong personality at schools where basketball has to be the #1 revenue-producing sport. You think about Catholic institutions like Georgetown with John Thompson. You think about certainly St. John's when they had Louis Cordes II. You think about Marquette with Al McGuire. I really believe that is really one of the first ingredients in hiring a guy. Has to be a strong personality.
There was a guy back in the 70s at University of Detroit who kind of fit that bill.
Thank you, man. I don't know if I fit that bill, but one of my greatest moments in my coaching life was against I call him like an idol. I love Al McGuire, miss him so much. We had the good fortune to have a 21-game win streak, and we went to Milwaukee, and we beat the team that won the national championship in '77, and they went on to ultimately win the national title, and we got beat in the regional by Michigan, who was #1 in the nation at the time.
You'd have been a treat if TV were then as TV is now. To cover you on the sidelines, that would have been something else.
Well, you know who did our game? I'll never forget it. It was you see the 3 right there by Lefko
again. Yep.
I was so in awe because Kurt Gowdy did the game along with his analyst, a guy by the name of John Wooden.
Oh, really?
I was in awe. At the shoot-around our practice, I made our players all take pictures with Coach Wooden and Kurt Gowdy. Kurt Gowdy was the creme de la creme.
You know, it's amazing, and part of the reason that we're here in Kansas City, they just opened up the new National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame. The inaugural class of 5 was inducted last night. And of the 4 living members who were inducted, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, Dean Smith, and John Wooden, from being at the ceremony and the reception last night, in my opinion, there's no doubt that John Wooden was the one guy that more people wanted to meet, more people wanted to talk to, more people held in high esteem, or the highest esteem, even than all the other, the great, I mean, and we're talking about basketball royalty, but John Wooden is just placed up on a pedestal by just about everybody.
You know, one of the only few guys to be in the Hall of Fame as a player and as a coach. Think about that. As a player and a coach. 10 national titles in 12 years.
And the first one was won
right here.
Right in this building.
1964 against Duke when he had that great backcourt of Walt Hazzard and Gail Goodrich. He did it with big players. He did it with small players. But ultimately, they all blended in and played as a team.
Now, what about this guy? Talk about what this guy meant to the game of basketball.
Well, you talk about one of the greatest winners ever to play. I mean, you talk about blocking shots, winning championships, San Francisco, Boston Celtics. I mean, he was the ultimate winner. Just a winner. That's the best way to describe him.
Very nice ceremony last night and very nice induction. James Naismith's grandson, Jan Naismith, was there on behalf of the game's inventor.
I was really happy to do a tribute to those people in terms of spending a few minutes to put one together, because
you did a great
there were 5
job. You wowed him. You wowed him. A great class of James Naismith, Dean Smith, John Wooden, Oscar Robertson, and Bill Russell. They couldn't have picked 5 better choices. Tough jumper. High arcing jumper from the corner. Not there for James Jackson. The rebound got Valentine ahead of him. And Valentine is called for the travel. Another Red Raider turnover. Well, Feast Week continues tomorrow here on ESPNU. First, we'll take you to Maui at 1:30 Eastern Time. Oklahoma takes on Purdue, and then another game from Maui at 3:30 Eastern Time based on the results of the games that are going on right now. Feast Week all week long on the ESPN family of networks.
They need a good man-to-man stop right here. Next 2 minutes are really vital. They can't let Marquette go on a little spurt right here.
Knocked out of bounds by Desenze White, a freshman out of Pacifica, California. Remains Marquette ball.
See, what these games do, they allow you to find out about the strengths and weaknesses of your club. So many games early in the season are Cupcake City, blowouts. I mean, I was really surprised when I saw the score with the Idaho State team because they were picked for 7th in their conference. But then they regrouped after that game and came out strong against Detroit and Eastern Michigan.
Allows you to simulate something like a conference tournament, too, playing on consecutive days. Very little time to prepare for your next opponent. Dominique James, whose shot has improved, and that was, they sent him home with those instructions after the season last year. They said, you're phenomenal. You're the Big East Rookie of the Year, but your shot has to get a little bit better.
But, you know, if you go back to that possession, Valentine never raised his hands to challenge him on a shot at all. Bob Knight had to be totally upset with that defensive effort. You got to at least get a hand up. I mean, this guy teaches defense.
Now Wesley Matthews takes the charge, the foul on Martensino.
And watch this jump shot. There's no hand comes up.
Yep.
Where's the hand? Where's the hand? There's not a hand near that shot.
And when you're 5'7", you better at least get your hand up.
Exactly.
Otherwise everybody's going to shoot over you.
They're going to sit down and become an assistant coach.
Yep. James trying to take Valentine this time on the drive. The kick to Matthews. The swing to McNeil. The extra pass to Kubion for 3.
What a great job of reversing the ball. Swinging it side to side. Making the extra pass. Great ball reversal.
Boy, that is pure basketball. Going with a small lineup of 4 guards in Fitzgerald, and that was some beautiful stuff.
Oh, what a terrific job of reversing the ball. They swing that ball from side to side. Here it comes now. Watch the drive, kick it out, and then reverse it. And one more time. That was like the Knicks years ago. You don't remember Red Holzman's teams, how they used to swing the ball side to side. When they had Clyde, Walt Frazier, and they had Barnett, and they had DeBusschere, and they had Bradley, and they had a center by the name of Willis Reed.
DeBusschere, a UD guy, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. University of Detroit. Special player, also played Major League Baseball.
Martensino misses the front end. Texas Tech is doing a whole lot more wrong tonight than they are right.
2 minutes on the clock. They're down 9. They got the ball, and here it is. They let Marquette go on a spurt up into 15.
Matthews a little over anxious, out of bounds off him. Again, for a while it was a small lineup, 4 guards in Fitzgerald. Now checking into the game for Marquette is Lawrence Blackledge, a 6'8" junior college player out of Carbondale, Illinois. But Tom Crean appears to have a lot of versatility and options.
Yeah, he really does, and he also has a team that I really believe is going to be quick defensively.
Easy call.
I think they're going to be a really solid defensive team, Doris. Do you like their defensive quickness?
No question, Dick, and Tom Crean talked about it yesterday at practice. He said, guys, get down in the stance, be intense throughout the course of this game. This is a Texas Tech team that runs their stuff incredibly well. They've taken it away from them, guys.
On another charge called on that last possession, an easy call for Reggie Greenwood as Benny Valentine just ran somebody over in the paint. Fitzgerald. Inside the final minute of the first half, that at times has been dominated by the Golden Eagles.
Look at the way they swing the basketball.
It's nice basketball to watch.
Very unselfish basketball. Always trying to make the extra pass. Tom Crean is so into the game. I got my eyes glued on him on that sideline. Look at him. Look at him. Is he in the game? I mean, oh, wow, look at this guy. Is he earning his scholarship? He's earning his cash.
And we can tell you because we were there, that's what he's like in practice. He's exactly the same way.
No, he's double
He's
that.
more?
He's double that.
Shot clock's at 5. No.
That was an all-time black.
Really? Matthews the pull-up, and it's laid in just before the expiration of the shot clock. Lawrence Blackledge with the bucket.
Marquette wanted the last 2 minutes more than Texas Tech did.
Jackson the cutter, and he's fouled. You can see the shot clock. Clearly got it off in time.
Just got it off.
They're just quicker to the basketball than Texas Tech is.
They're very quick to the basketball. It's a great point you made, Dan. They're one step ahead, it seems. They are anticipating. They're not reacting. They're anticipating. When you anticipate, you got a chance to win. I found it very intriguing, though, listen to Bob Knight talk about 3 people that he called when he first got the job at West Point to really try to get some information about coaching. Joe Lapchick at St. John's, Fred Taylor, his former coach, Ohio State, and Claire B. from LIU.
And a new book is out about Joe Lapchick,
yes,
and Coach Knight wrote the foreword.
Yeah, Gus Theory, former player, wrote the book. Mike Vaccaro does a great job at the New York Post. Had a little plug about the book this Sunday in his column.
Final possession of the half to Marquette. They're already up 15. And McNeil's going to have to force it up. That will bring the
60.
first half to
Wow.
a close. And look at how Marquette, talk about being quicker to the ball, quicker with the ball. Marquette 16 love on Texas Tech on the break.
That's 2 touchdowns, baby, plus.
Up 15 at the break. Tom Crean has to be very, very happy with the way that his team played as they're looking for a spot in the championship game against Duke tomorrow night. Let's visit with Doris Burke and Tom Crean.
Coach, balanced offensively, you shot a high percentage. What did you do well?
Well, we moved the ball well. You know, we didn't settle for jumpers. We got inside-out passes. We got into the lane, reversed it, but we got a lot that fed off of our defense, and that's the only way we can win this game is to be able to play pressure defense, not allow them easy looks, and get out and run.
Good luck in the second half, Dan.
All right, Doris, thank you. Marquette by 15 at the break. The halftime report is coming up right after these messages. An impressive first half for the Marquette Golden Eagles, leading Texas Tech by 15. And statistically, boy, you almost think they should be up more than that. They out-rebounded them. Look at the points off turnovers as they capitalized there. Points in the point. Ran it up and down the floor, 16-0. The fast break points. A 15-point lead for Marquette going to the second half. But at halftime, Dickie V did not rest. He went and hobnobbed with celebrities. Now that, my friends, was a ball player. That is George Brett in the middle of your screen right there.
See, I did games with him. He's a terrific guy, Roger Twibel. And George is telling me about a third baseman and minor league player of the year coming up.
Gordon?
Yes,
Alex
sir,
Gordon. Yeah.
They say he's going to be special.
Well,
as good as he's going to be, I don't think he'll be George Brett.
That guy was pretty special.
Yes, sir.
That guy had as nice a swing as anybody's ever had. Texas Tech in white, Marquette in blue. The loser will play Air Force in the third place game, 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow here on ESPNU. The winner will play Duke in the championship game, 10 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night on ESPN2.
Texas Tech had a chance to get back in the game, cut it to 9, 2 minutes on the clock. Doris and I were talking at halftime. He allowed, when you look at Bob Knight, they allowed in a sequence there when Marquette utilized its defense to force a turnover and get a layup. Quickness, nothing like quickness.
You know, Bob Knight is coming off just his second losing season as a head coach, and he's going to suffer his first loss here tonight unless his team changes things in a hurry. Another alley-oop for Dominique James.
Well, now we know why Bob Knight was singing his praises to us. He said Dominique James is special. He may be as good as a perimeter player as there is in America.
Most preseason All-American teams had Ronald Steele of Alabama on the first team and Dominique James of Marquette on the second team. Now he pulls up for 3. And the loose ball rebound comes down to Desenze White, getting a start here in the second half.
Nice pass. Nice transition game. That's the first time I've seen great execution in transition.
Charlie Burgess to Jay Mitchell, who did not see the floor in the first half, but starts the second half. That lets you know how Bob Knight feels about his team's play right now.
Well, he's trying to get some energy. He wants energy right now. Here goes the alley-oop to the little guy.
Wow.
Look at that Skywalker. The diagonal pass, back screen. Look at Bob Knight, just absolutely upset when he's watching defensively.
Jay Mitchell had played a total of 12 minutes so far this season in their first 4 games. Now he gets a start in the second half. Desenze White, who didn't start the game, he starts the second half as well. So 2 new starters into the game for Texas Tech.
You know, Dan, you mentioned that Bob Knight had a losing season last year. That was, ready for this, the first losing season since at West Point in 1971 when he was 11-13.
White too strong off the glass, but the follow for Esmir Rizvik.
I mean, these guys at least are playing with some effort. I didn't think they played with the kind of passion you expected to see out of a Texas Tech team in a tournament.
They were beaten to just about every loose ball in the first half. Jarrell McNeil, baseline. The kick wide open. Wesley Matthews buries it.
Wide open, got that look. Well, for a little penetration on the baseline. You want to play this game right now in segments if you're Texas Tech.
Jarius Jackson gets his man in the air and nails the baseline jumper.
So they're going to play this game in segments. They're going to hope to get down when you get to about that 12-minute mark, get it down to 10.
Matthews again, a little bit strong. Jameel Lott skies for the rebound and is fouled before the shot.
That's just hustle. That's just pure hustle, Doris.
No question, Dick. When I talked to head coach designate Pat Knight, he said we played scared. Marquette jumped on us. A lot of what happened was mental mistakes, and it was exactly what you said, Dick Vitale. It was the time of their mistakes. They had the ball and a chance to get within 7, a turnover, and they give up a 3 on the opposite end. He said, we're not playing smart defensively.
Well, you got to play with passion. If you don't play with passion today in college basketball, you're going home in an L. I thought that's what happened to Kansas against Oral Roberts. Scott Sutton's kids, I thought, wanted a little bit more, and they ultimately went to the winner's circle.
Lott and Rizvik hit the floor, and the tie-up will keep the ball at this end of the floor in the alternating possession. And Pat Knight, the head coach designate, sitting to the right of his dad. He'll take over the program whenever Bob Knight decides to call it a career. But Knight signed an extension for 3 more years.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of young guys stepping in now. We see, for example, you got Sutton down there replacing his dad, Eddie Sutton. You got Tony Bennett replacing his dad down at Washington State. Hey, what about a salute and a little toast to a guy by the name of Blaine Taylor in Old Dominion? What a win they had, beating Georgetown.
That's right.
Not only did they beat them at Georgetown, they beat them at the McDonough, which is one of the real tough places to play. They don't play many of their games there.
Beat them by 13, 75-62.
Well, shooting the 3, they made 6 threes in the second half.
We'll see Georgetown a week from Saturday at Duke. The Sensei White, a strong move, and he's fouled by Jarrell McNeil.
Well, sometimes those kind of games, we said about, talked about it earlier, those are the kind of games that maybe give you a wake-up call. And then poor Pat Kennedy, I felt sorry for him. Did a great job at Iona. People don't realize what a job he did at Florida State. But he coaches Towson now. And who did they have to play after Kansas got beat by Oral Roberts? Kansas. At Kansas.
David Kubian back into the game now for Marquette. McNeil will sit down. Kubian gave him a bit of a spark off the bench. Looks like he's going to be a fine addition to the Marquette backcourt.
Oh, yeah, he really is. He's going to give him that 4th guard. They got 4 big-time guards when you talk Matthews, McNeil, James, and Kubian.
You know, again, we mentioned Villanova in passing in the first half. Think back to Villanova's perimeter attack of a year ago, and people said it doesn't work. You can't play with that many perimeter players, but maybe you can.
You know, Villanova got beat by Xavier. You talk about an outstanding team in the Atlantic 10. Keep an eye on Xavier. Justin Cage, Justin Dolman. But they came back tonight, and Bobby Knight's guy, they beat Bobby Knight's guy, Iowa. Villanova put the hurt on him. They also have Drew Lavender, a transfer from out of Oklahoma.
Out of bounds, it stays with the Golden Eagles. Kind of a choppy start here to the second half. A lot of whistles. Ball's getting knocked out of bounds. 14-point lead, Marquette trying to advance to the championship game against Duke tomorrow night. Baseline drive, the pull-up for James, not there. Tipped back out, though, and a fresh 35 for Marquette. The loose balls, the offensive rebounding, the steals, all the little hustle plays going the Golden Eagles' way.
Well, you know, over the years, Tom, Izzo did a great job teaching rebounding, and I think the same drills are being utilized out at Marquette.
James gets pushed by Valentine. Again, they're just too quick turning the corner on these Red Raiders. Feast Week action continues tomorrow night with 2 games from here, from the CBE Classic. It'll be the 3rd place game as Air Force takes on the loser of this one here on ESPNU at 8 Eastern, then at 10 Eastern on ESPN2, and in high definition, it'll be Duke against the winner of this for the championship of the CBE Classic.
Can you believe my wife? I call home at halftime. I say, "Hon, you enjoying the game?" She says, "Yeah, I'm watching Demi Moore and Michael Douglas." That's great. What a great wife. Thanks a lot, Lorraine.
I'd have been shocked if she said anything else. Off the hands of Matthews, he recovers. 4 minutes in to the second half, and a seemingly comfortable lead for Marquette, although they turn it over here. And now I think we had another shot clock situation. They blew the whistle. We're at the under 16, and we get a timeout on the floor here in KC. Back to the action here in Kansas City. We are Marquette, says the sign. A lot of Marquette fans in the house, and they're enjoying what they're seeing as their Golden Eagles have had a double-digit lead over Texas Tech almost the entire night. And the new face into the game for the Red Raiders, number 31, Tanner Ogden, with the ball right now. Checks in for the first time all night as Bob Knight keeps searching deeper and deeper down his bench for options.
Well, he's trying to find combinations, trying to find a group that can come out and challenge him.
Benny Valentine with a floater. It's a 12-point game.
Well, like I said, if they can get it under 10 by the 12-minute mark and get a little spark, they've shown some spurts in the first half, got it down to about 7.
Fitzgerald off to Matthews, and Matthews will shoot 2, foul by DeSenze White. Bob Knight with 873 wins, 7 away from breaking Dean Smith's record. Here's Coach Knight with his assessment of what the record means to him.
I've always said that the most important records we should keep would be doctors' records. You know, Dr. Jones this past month performed 19 operations. 11 lived, 4 died, and 4 still hanging in there. You know, doctors' records would be really important. I'm not sure that my record or any other coach's record is all that important.
Probably, you know, one of the most meaningful things that's happened to me in my professional life was spent.
Well, what do you think of Bob Knight's comments? I mean, he always comes up with an answer you don't expect, huh?
Well, you know, Bob Knight obviously very proud. He wants to certainly, as he's telling me, this record is indicative of the great players that he's had the opportunity to coach at West Point and certainly at Indiana and now at Texas Tech. He'll be the first one to sing their praises.
How difficult do you think it is for him, knowing him as well as you do and as long as you have, that he, it seems in the last few years, he just can't get the same caliber of player to come to Lubbock that he got to come to Indiana?
Well, you know, obviously, when you're talking about recruiting, Indiana was such a hotbed for basketball. But the thing is this, that he's got a great class coming in. That's why he's motivated about next year. He really has a terrific class coming in next year. Signed 5 outstanding high school players.
Jackson from the baseline, a little bit short. Rebound, Kubiak.
Might be the best class that he's put together since he's been at Texas Tech. 3 times he's taken them to the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's really quite an achievement when you think about where Texas Tech was prior to his arrival.
Yeah. Oh, no question that the program is doing better than it did before he got there. I'm comparing it to the comparing it to the glory days of Indiana. That's all I'm saying. It's a different place. It's a different era. But how about Benny Valentine making things happen?
Hey, Mr. Valentine. He's got it down to 12. I think what you're trying to basically say, Dan, and what I really think you mean is about winning a national championship, because that was always his standard of what he was pursuing. We're here right now with the personnel he has. That's a tough task.
Matthews baseline.
Gerald Myers made a great hire when he brought him to Lubbock, Texas. Hey, little Benny. Benny says, hey, take a look at this little showtime. Between my legs, a little spin. There's the little jumper, a little rainbow J by Mr. Valentine.
Benny Valentine making the most of his minutes. Picked up the foul on the last play. Dominique James, boy, and again, Valentine, I mean, he kind of gave up on that play defensively. He wasn't in the ballpark, didn't get the hands up. Second time we've seen that. That was an uncontested jumper for Dominique James.
Yeah, Benny's got to play on the defensive side.
Yep.
He can't just play on the offensive side.
James is so quick, he's tough to stay with, but Valentine wasn't close.
Got to have a little pride in yourself and at least give an effort.
Nice feed from DeSenze White inside, and Jackson will shoot a couple after the foul by Kubiak. Let's get more now on Dominique James again as we visit with Doris.
For a young guy, such great perspective. 3.2 GPA both in the fall and the spring last semester. I asked him why it was so important to him. He said, I was basically raised by my brother who was 3 years older. He taught me the game of basketball, but he stressed that he far more important than basketball. He wanted me to succeed in the classroom. He said, I understand. I am a role model for every kid back in that small town of Richmond, Indiana. Too many guys make bad choices, Dick. You preach about choices. This guy's making good ones.
Well, that's really, really great to hear, because you want to hear more guys being legitimate student athletes. That's why I was so impressed with Dwayne Wade. And what really impresses me more so is I'm hearing now from the people at Marquette that he hasn't changed. Despite all, the only thing that's changed is his bank account. It's got a little bigger. It's going ding-a-ling ding.
Yeah, a little wardrobe change.
Yeah, it's kind of like your bank account.
Yeah.
But, you know, he hasn't changed as a person. He's a beautiful wife, family. And so great to see a kid like that have the success he's had.
Jackson out. He'll get a lecture from Bob Knight. Charlie Burgess back into the game for the Red Raiders. Lazar Hayward, who had some good minutes off the bench for Marquette in the first half, is back in as well.
You know, this game's not over. If they can put a stop, get a couple of threes, and they can make it a little bit interesting. But they haven't really challenged Marquette yet to get Marquette a little nervous.
Rattles out on James with a follow by Fitzgerald. Again, you talk about it. Blocking out is one of the pillars of what Bob Knight preaches. They're not doing it.
Not blocking it at all. A guy like Fitzgerald, who's a real perimeter player with his size, gets an easy offensive rebound.
Burgess going 1-on-4 right there, draws the foul. Let's go back to the other end and figure out how Fitzgerald got to the basket so easily.
Well, take a look right here. You're going to see the jump shot go up by James, and Fitzgerald goes right down the gut. Nobody even lets a body near him. That's like Broadway, baby, right down Broadway.
It was Tanner Ogden who just turned and looked at the basket. He didn't find Fitzgerald and put a body on him. He just kind of turned around and watched the ball float into the rim, and Fitzgerald ran right by him. And now Ogden's coming out, and that's probably not a coincidence. And now look at this.
Yes, sir. I'm not happy. Not happy.
Well, he's right.
You think he's inviting him to take Thanksgiving dinner?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's part of the package if you play for Bob Knight. And Ogden, when he sees the tape, he'll see it. He broke one of the first rules of basketball. Didn't block out. Hayward wide open for three, way off. And the rebound of Kubion. The shot clock did not reset as that ball did not hit the rim.
Now you want to play in the segment where you want to get it under 12 by the 10-minute mark. You want to get it under 10.
Burgess, no. Follow, no.
Burgess
and Marquette basketball.
You got to convert that. That's a 4-point swing if Marquette scores here.
Fitzgerald wide open.
That.
Hayward underneath, and he'll shoot. Good hustle again. They're just simply outworking the Red Raiders.
They're just out hustling them, out scrapping them, out hustling them. A little bit more aggressive. They wanted a little bit more. Hey, I'll tell you, a guy that wanted it. Let's send a little toast out and a salute to Nick Fazekas. That's right, of Nevada. He broke the school record of Edgar Jones the other night. He has the school record now, Mr. Fazekas in Nevada. Keep an eye on him.
Keep an eye on Michael Prince as he comes back into the game. And he had some pretty specific instructions, whatever they may have been, from Bob Knight as he comes back in it. Sensei White sits down. Well, Bob Knight was not all that animated in the first half, as angry as he must have been at his team, but he has been much more animated here in the second half. And remember, even if they lose this game, they're playing again tomorrow.
And they're playing a good Air Force team. They're going to have to really come to play because Air Force is much better than what we witnessed tonight. And they're going to make some threes. I mean, if they play lackadaisical against them, they'll carve them to pieces.
On the alternating possession, the ball goes to the Red Raiders.
And nobody knows the academy a little better than Bob Knight. He was there, by the way, at a time when Bill Parcells was there, coaching football. Yeah.
Bob Knight, along with son Pat Knight, looking on. It has felt like a 20 or 25-point game the entire night, but as you've said a couple of times, a couple of stops, a couple of baskets, they're right back in it.
Yeah, a couple of threes and play on the defensive side, it can make it interesting.
Valentine getting a lot of minutes at the point tonight. Jarius Jackson is on the bench right now, so who's the scorer? We haven't seen a lot of Martinsino, haven't seen any of Martinsino here in the second half. That pass off the hands and head of Valentine, and McNeil capitalizes at the other end.
How many times have we seen transition layups off the steal, off the turnover? That's going to be really a forte for Marquette. They're very quick. They deflect passes. In fact, the last game, McNeil had 17 deflections.
Yep. Prince turns the corner, fouled by Fitzgerald, who is injured. Dan Fitzgerald is down.
You know when people started to chart deflections? Dan Fitzgerald's hurt was UB Brown. UB Brown was the first one to really start that. Then Rick Pitino followed suit.
We'll update Fitzgerald's status when we come back. 15-point lead, Marquette. Dan Fitzgerald of the Golden Eagles just suffered an injury. Let's get an update from Dorisburg.
Marquette simply calling it a banged shin, guys. He will return.
Looked worse than that. Good news for Marquette. As you can see, is Prince on the drive, and Fitzgerald got his leg out there and was in a lot of pain. It was down for about a minute and a half, but then walked off the court under his own power.
Well, that was a good sign. Seeing him walk off like he did.
CBE Classic here in Kansas City, a tournament formerly known as the Guardians Classic, and a good field again here this year as Prince's shot rattles out. A fellow that we both know well by the name of Rick Giles of the Gazelle Group deserves a lot of credit for putting this tournament together.
Yeah, Rick does a phenomenal job. He's done a great job with the Coaches versus Cancer and all the different tournaments he's been involved with. He's really a classy guy and really has been a great asset.
A little patience here on this possession from Marquette. They've loved running up and down a lot tonight, but getting an open look. Jarrell McNeil in the corner. And the uncontested rebound comes down to the Red Raiders, to Jay Mitchell. Now Kubian is called for the foul for Marquette. Hey, Feast Week continues tomorrow here on ESPNU. First at 1:30 Eastern, it'll be Oklahoma taking on Purdue out in Maui. And then in the second game at 3:30, it looks like it's going to be DePaul. Kentucky's just about ready to put away DePaul, and they'll play the loser of UCLA Chaminade. The championship semifinals will be on ESPN tomorrow night. Memphis, Georgia Tech at 7, and then in all likelihood Kentucky against the winner of UCLA Chaminade at 9:30. Mitchell, tough catch behind the back pass. So Yagic fouled, and he'll shoot too. This is getting a little bit ragged.
Real ragged. Nice pass right there by Mitchell. Hey, you mentioned that Kentucky team. One of their assets they have right now is their weight training guy, conditioning guy, Scott Halzappel. Scott was 6 years. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm waiting for the end of the story.
No.
I've never heard this man's name before. Tell me the end of the story.
You're laughing at me.
I'm not laughing at anything.
He was on a staff and worked at Marquette. I can't get over how you laugh.
I didn't do anything.
Yes, you did. I'm going to call the producer.
How good?
Hey, Dad, he's laughing at me.
How good do you think they're going to be? I mean, the SEC is going to be a bear this year. How good do you think Kentucky's going to be?
Well, I think they're going to be better than people believe. I think the key's going to be whether or not certainly Morris has a big year. I think Bradley, as you watch right there.
Kubian again.
Kubian is going to be such an asset. But Halzappel, everybody's singing his praises. Conditioning a weight coach. He worked for 6 years with Tom Crean. Tom Crean says he's absolutely sensational.
16-point lead now for Marquette, nearing the midway point of the second half. Jarius Jackson, a nice kick. So Yagic buries the 15-footer.
Nice little jump shot right there.
Missed all of last season with a knee injury, and they're trying to work him back into form and to get some solid minutes out of him. And now over the back goes Jay Mitchell to commit the foul. It's gone final now with Maui. Kentucky has defeated DePaul. So Kentucky advances to a semifinal tomorrow night at 9:30 Eastern on ESPN, and DePaul will be playing tomorrow afternoon 3:30 on ESPNU.
Well, they got so many passionate fans, Kentucky. They travel with more fans than any other school. They really follow their team. Sometimes expectations get a little carried away.
Remember one time I was doing the Great Alaska Shootout, and Kentucky was there, and they had over half the fans in the building were from Kentucky. There were 8 teams there.
Oh, they love their basketball.
Nice steal by Prince at the other end. Hand off to Burgess. And a nice drive. He is fouled. And it will be on the way up. So Burgess is going to get a couple of shots.
They just keep hanging around that 12-14 mark. They can't get it under that. I remember some of the great matchups we watched Marquette and Louisville. Remember those tremendous matchups? Rick Pitino, by the way, I think is going to have a heck of a team this year in the Big East. He got a great performance the other night on Jerry Smith, freshman from out of Wisconsin. Had 24 points, played brilliantly.
They're excited about Derek Character too, right?
Yeah. Character's going to be a special guy, but he's not playing the first couple games.
Yeah, Big East is going to be a monster, as it always is, with Pittsburgh picked at the top. Marquette was picked 4th, by the way, behind Pittsburgh, Georgetown, and Syracuse in the 16-team Big East.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Louisville certainly needs a healthy David Padgett.
McNeil, by the way, the last foul was on him, his 4th. He's gone to the bench. Wesley Matthews, who can really do some things from the wing. A nice drive, and he's got 13.
Can't get over the fact that guys aren't stepping in, taking driving angles. All part of the Bob Knight philosophy.
They have not been able to keep the Golden Eagles out of the paint tonight.
I just think you made a great point earlier. Just too quick. They're too quick. They're one step ahead. Nothing like quickness.
Texas Tech ball.
Much as quickness. Right down the lane. Nobody steps in. Everybody's just watching. You got to step in. His Indiana teams, if you wanted a team that really played the game the right way, 1976, Quentin Buckner, Scott May, Wilkerson, Abernathy, and Kent Benson. help on defense, communicated, had so much pride. Last unbeaten team in the history of college basketball.
Rizvik with a wild jump hook when he couldn't find anybody to pass to. The follow no good, and now the rebound comes down to Marquette.
I don't think in my lifetime I'd love to see an unbeaten team again.
Really? Matthews, yes! On the feed from James.
I don't know, maybe James threw that in.
And you're allowed to hang up there on the rim if it's in self-defense, if somebody was right underneath you, and they were. That's the third alley-oop there's been tonight for Marquette. James finished 2 and started this one, Dick.
You can't allow him to just throw this over the top of the defense. You got to deflect that ball. And looking over the top, great eye contact. There's the delivery of the rock, and there's the layup.
These guys are having some fun tonight.
Well, those are timing plays. They're going to have a lot of fun in Milwaukee. They're going to really excite a lot of fans.
Well, they play with a bit of a swagger to them, too, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They have that little cockiness.
And a young group, those 3 perimeter players, James, McNeil, Matthews, all sophomores, and all contributing tonight and this season so far. Marquette coming in 4-0, ranked 17th in the nation.
You know, when you think about the great front courts in basketball, you certainly think of Florida. I love their front court, Billy Donovan's. I think their trio is just the best in America. Then you think about North Carolina. But when you think about backcourts, you're going to have to put this Marquette backcourt with the top 5 in America. I don't think there's any doubt. You think about backcourts, I think Kansas has a potential heck of a backcourt once Collins gets acclimated. But Chalmers, and you can also slide Rush back there as well. Robinson. I think you got to think about Virginia with Singletary and J.R. Reynolds. You got to think certainly about UCLA with Aflalo and Collison. I mean, and I'll tell you one thing. When you look in college basketball, if you excel on a perimeter like Marquette does, you got a chance to win.
Well, and again, we saw that from Villanova last year. Jay Wright, people told him, you can't do this. You can't play with 4 guards. And he said, Sumter's hurt. I'm putting my best 5 guys out on the floor. We'll just call them basketball players and see what happens. And what happened is they were one of the best teams in the country.
Well, what about one of the greatest coaches in the game, the Hall of Famer Lute Olson in 1997, when he had Simon and Bibby, and he had Dickerson, and he had Terry. He had 4 quality guards, and they won the national title.
Matthews cut off there by Rizvik. They'll swing it around to the open man as they've been doing all night, really sharing the basketball nicely.
I love that Arizona front court as well. Buttinger is a special player to Diaper Dandy.
Jackson the look ahead, Valentine the finish. 14-point lead now for Marquette, under 7.5 to go.
Benny Valentine sneaks out. They just can't go on a sustained drive in terms of going on a 10-1 spur. And every time they seem to show a little life, Marquette comes back with a couple of big plays.
Matthews goes around Voskill and lays it in. Again, the quickness is just too much. Too much athleticism.
They just spread the court, put the ball in the hands of those 3 guards.
Wesley Matthews, Dick, now with 17. It's all Marquette here in Kansas City, looking to put away the Red Raiders and to move on to tomorrow's championship against Duke. Well, the Marquette fans love what they have seen from their team here tonight in Kansas City. The Golden Eagles seemingly on their way to going to 5-0 and moving on to tomorrow's championship game against Duke, 10 Eastern on ESPN2. Lazar Hayward, Wesley Matthews, Dominique James, Jarrell McNeil. There have been a lot of contributors for Marquette here tonight.
You know, in his first 5 seasons at Texas Tech, he's taken them 3 times to the NCAA tournament. Texas Tech had been to the NCAA just 10 times in its prior history. He's already 5th on the school's all-time coaching win list. The #1 leader is the current athletic director who really loves Mr. Knight, Gerald Myers, who has 326 wins.
Let's check out some of the stats from tonight's game. Texas Tech not shooting the ball that badly, but not getting inside, and this has been a debacle. The turnovers that Marquette has turned into layups and dunks at the other end, particularly deflating plays, as Dominique James is called for a foul. Well, Tom Crean, over the years as an assistant and head coach in college basketball, has developed a relationship with Bob Knight. Coach Crean tells us a story about some time he got to spend with Bob Knight.
probably, you know, one of the most meaningful things that's happened to me in my professional life was spending some time with him, with Bob Hamill, with Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa and Coach Snyder are certainly great friends, and I've had a chance to develop a friendship with him, and we had a chance to spend some time together in St. Louis. You know, we saw Tony win a big game, we saw him lose a crusher, a lot of dinners, and it was a lot of fun. Here's this man that's an icon and one of the greatest that's ever coached any sport at any level. And he treats you just like a regular guy. I mean, I enjoyed that immensely. And I always had a lot of respect. And my respect went way up after that.
You know, you talk about, he mentioned icon, certainly a legend, and I agree. When you talk about any sport whatsoever, that name is synonymous with basketball. He is so special in terms of the eyes of so many people that he's influenced over the years at coaching clinics. I remember watching him at a coaching clinic when he was at West Point, and I sat there in awe, listening to him talk about the principles of how to play on a defensive end. I mean, he was in his, like, 20s.
And everybody who knows him well, and I don't, but you do, everybody who knows him well says that the good so far outweighs the bad. It's just the bad is so visible, and now that there's a reputation in the history, the bad looms larger sometimes than some people feel it should.
I think it's a pretty good analysis.
Wesley.
He was born in Massillon, Ohio. It's a football country. Went to Ohio State. Was a reserve on 3 Final Four teams. Played there during the era with guys by the name of Jerry Lucas, John Havlicek, Larry Siegfried. Oh, they had so many great players. Fred Taylor, we had great admiration for.
Everything falling. Lazar Hayward with almost a behind-the-back shot, and Marquette is up to a 20-point lead now on Texas Tech. This is their largest lead of the game.
3 national titles, 76, 81, 87, 11 Big Ten titles. I mean, he just has had an incredible career.
Look inside for Rizvik, and he'll lay it in with the left hand. And Barrow wants a push-off. He felt that Rizvik just kind of used that off arm to shove him out of the way.
Rizvik did a nice job. They're trying to teach him how to hold post position, how to use his body, use his size. You know, you look at the Big 12, I think Kansas State's going to be a team to really have to deal with. I think they say that Marquette, I was talking to Tom Crean, he scrimmaged them, had a close scrimmage.
Right. I like that idea.
He was really impressed, and they didn't have Bill Walker. Wait till they get Bill Walker. You talk about an athlete.
He'll be back December the 16th. Benny Valentine with a 3. He's got 11 points off the bench tonight for the Red Raiders.
And what about the recruiting coup down there at Southern Cal, getting O.J. Mayo, Bill Walker's teammate? I know, talking to Sonny Vaccaro, who's helped so many athletes, other than just great players, but kids that got some visibility and exposure and got scholarship. He told me one time, he said about Mayo and Walker, he said, special, my friend, special.
Valentine again. He's got 14. It's an 8-0 run for the Red Raiders thanks to Benny Valentine.
Little Benny, he's doing all he can. He's trying to get everybody pumped up. Look at Benny.
We haven't seen Jarius Jackson in a long time. We haven't seen Martin Zeno for a second here in the second half.
Dora.
But I haven't seen Dora either. You're right, but we're seeing a whole lot of little Benny Valentine trying to slap the ball away now. Hayward too strong. James at 5'11" with the putback.
How does the 5'11" on the interior get an offensive rebound? I know he's got great bounce and great legs. That just can't happen. Not when you're trying to struggle to get back in the game.
Timeout taken by Bob Knight. Well, it's the little guys who are having a big impact on this game here in the last couple of minutes, beginning with Benny Valentine of Texas Tech trying to single-handedly bring him back into the game. Back-to-back threes for Valentine. He's got a 14, but Dominique James also 14. His putback restores a 14-point lead. Welcome back to Municipal Auditorium here in Kansas City. Dan Schulman, Dick Vitale, Dorisburg, the CBE Classic, formerly known as the Guardians Classic. This tournament being put on this year by the NABC, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, in conjunction with the opening of the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame. They put in the inaugural class of 5 last night. We've talked about it often over the course of the night. A special evening and a long overdue concept to have a Hall of Fame devoted exclusively to college basketball.
Yeah, Jim Haney's done a phenomenal job. We talked about it. Blair Kirkhoff, fine writer in town. They've worked so hard to make that a reality.
The tip is good. I think Alan Voskuil is going to get credit for it. And it's 76-64.
Moscow with a good offensive rebound, a tip. They get it to 12. They can't get it under 12.
Yep.
Every time they get it to 12, Marquette comes back with a quick deuce.
Benny Valentine's hit a couple of threes to really make it a little bit more competitive. Jarrell McNeil hangs and hits. He's got a dozen.
McNeil's so quick, so athletic. He just gets better shooting that three. Adds that to his arsenal.
If my math is right, Dick, the three perimeter guys, McNeil, James, and Matthews, have 46 points. Make it 48.
Look at that spin. Left hand.
Look at that speed.
Big time. Speed, quickness, explosiveness. Can't teach that.
Nope.
I mean, you can do all the other stuff, but when you got that, that is such an asset.
A three from the wing for Benny Valentine. 17.
Look at Benny. He's playing his heart out.
He is. Count the bucket, says Reggie Greenwood. And we'll sort out the foul situation when we come back. Benny, a one-man gang right now, but will it be enough for Texas Tech?
Hi, honey. We're here to help you decorate.
Sorry, guys. I went to the Home Depot. Oh, no, she's the decorator.
Come on, Warren.
Introducing Holiday Home Accents from the Home Depot. An exclusive new line of decorations and accessories to help fill your home with holiday cheer. Holiday Home Accents, only at the Home Depot.
Get a Volkswagen and receive a custom First Act guitar. Plug into the stereo and make your V-dub rock.
This amplifier has airbags. I'm all right.
Right now, get a 2007 Jetta starting at just $16,490.
Fall, the first season of the year. Time to make your mark. The expectations clearly defined are simply a championship. What lies ahead is the mission, because victory requires a little bit more. One heart, one soul, one team. So don't just play the game, raise it. The NCAA Fall Championships, this December on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
ESPNU tips off the college basketball season with the Old Spice Classic. Fresh faces.
Got another one.
Intense competition.
What a dish.
Season-defining moments.
To the goal. Slams it home. Are you kidding me?
2 days that will leave you on the edge of your seat.
Oh, my goodness.
Live coverage of the Old Spice Classic continues Friday at 7:30 and Sunday at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. exclusively on ESPNU.
Well, as we mentioned, the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame put in its inaugural class last night, and they could not have done a better job. They could not have chosen 5 more worthy people. Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, Dean Smith goes in. Coach John Wooden of UCLA goes in. There's Dean Smith, still the all-time record with 879 wins. Coach Wooden, 10 national championships. And the man, of course, who invented the game, Dr. James Naismith, also going in, his grandson accepting the honor on his behalf. It was a terrific night. It's a great idea. It's the right town to do it, and it's something that's going to get more and more acclaim over the years. The last foul before the break was on Hayward. It was away from the three-pointer by Benny Valentine. That's why Rizvik has gone to the line, and he gets 2 free throws. And again, Texas Tech is making this one a little more interesting, thanks in large part to Benny Valentine.
I saw your voice get a little excited when you read that about Mr. Naismith.
Dr. Naismith.
Dr. Naismith, the Canadian.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's see that sense of pride.
Well, he invented it in the United States in the Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass, of course. But he is apparently the origins of the game. They just found some new documents of his, and it came from a game called Duck on a Rock. This is something. This was some kind of a game that he knew of, or a family game or something, and he modified it. This is where the idea of basketball came from.
Tell you, one of the great awards I've received in my life, I've been very blessed and very lucky, was the Naismith Award for contributions to the game. And we have in my home, I have a copy of the rules that he posted. You saw them in my house. The rules that he posted on the wall, a copy of them, and really, it's amazing. Amazing, his creative genius to make this all happen, which has allowed all of us to have a chance to make a good living and be part of something we love.
Foul from behind by James, not granting the easy layup to the Sensei White. Time now for the 2K Sports player of the game, and you could have chosen any one of a number of guys on Marquette, but we'll go with Wesley Matthews, who was dynamic on the wing tonight, getting into the paint, knocking down shots. 20 points on the night for Matthews.
Yeah, he was big time, no doubt. He had a foot injury last year and missed a lot of time, but has come back this year. Looks healthy, quick, agile, and what a combination. And also the young guy off the bench from St. Benedict's Prec.
Yeah, Kubian.
Kubian's going to be a great asset.
4 talented guards, and if the big guys just do what Tom Crean needs them to do, rebound, defend, screen, then
play hard, give some post scoring inside.
They're going to be a handful.
They're going to be a tough team in the Big East. I think they're going to be better than what people even projected. You said 4th. I think they have a chance to even finish higher than that. I told you I saw Connecticut, and Jim Calhoun's got some really interesting talent. Price and Dyson, and then you look at the big guy to beat on the inside, the 7'3", Stanley Robinson, as you see another 3. I'm telling you, they got a lot of talent, Connecticut. They just have to get a rhythm, get a feel for one another, and they have to learn to execute in their half-court game. But they're going to create lots of problems, and I believe they're going to lead the nation again in block shots.
That 3 by McNeil. Benny Valentine tries to answer. The Sensei White with a putback. He's giving them some good minutes here in the second half.
He's playing hard. White gets a good offensive rebound. And don't forget Jeff Adrian.
Yes.
Adrian's already had 4 double-doubles.
You talk about a guy who works hard around the rim.
Very physical.
McNeil fouled hard by White. McNeil, Matthews, and James each have at least 16 points in this game, and they've now combined for 53 points, well above their season average.
Take a look at that. They really, I think, got a lesson against Idaho State, and I think since that moment, he was able to get their attention. They got a nice addition on their staff on that sideline in Jerry Seasting. 10 years in the NBA, played at Purdue. Jason Rabidou used to be the head coach at Texas El Paso.
So tomorrow night in the 3rd place game, Dick, it's going to be Air Force against Texas Tech. That'll be 8 o'clock Eastern here on ESPNU. The championship game will be on ESPN2 at 10 Eastern. Duke Marquette. Give us a handicap that game for us.
Well, you know, Duke today executed so well. They shot well because they really moved the ball, played with poise. I thought they did an outstanding job in their half-court offense, which surprised me with so many new players. You just don't know what you're going to get from those new players. I think for Duke to be able to offset the quickness and to beat Marquette, they're going to need a big performance out of Josh McRoberts. He's going to have to lead on the inside. And I don't mean just passing the ball. He's going to have to score. They're veterans. They can't just count on the young players. They're veteran players. Paulus, DeMarcus Nelson, and McRoberts are going to have to do what they did tonight, have their A game to be able to beat the quickness of this team.
With those last free throws, Jarrell McNeil, who's got the ball now, just tied his career high with 19 points. So we will not get a Bob Knight against Mike Krzyzewski matchup here in this tournament. If both had won or both had lost tonight, we would have had one.
Well, the one thing about Mike Krzyzewski's team that I admire more over the years than anything about what they do, they always play hard. They always, you'll never hear them say we weren't focused, we didn't come to play with great energy. They always give a supreme effort.
And now Marquette can run out the clock. An impressive performance by the Golden Eagles. Their 3 perimeter players were outstanding, and they will beat Texas Tech and advance to the championship tomorrow night.
Wire to wire was all Marquette right from the opening minute. They just dominated their quickness. They were just a better basketball team.
Bob Knight remains at 873 career wins. It'll be Duke and Marquette for the CBE Classic Championship tomorrow night, 10 Eastern on ESPN2. Coming up next here on ESPNU, we will have more college basketball action for you. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more on all college sports, log on to ESPNU.com. For Dick Vitale, Doris Burke, and our entire crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying so long and thanks for watching.